Thank you, Rin. So, um, a very warm welcome to everyone over here for the session this evening. It could be very different times of the day for a lot of y'all. So, good morning, good afternoon from wherever y'all are joining. Um, so today's session is really special, where we have now Judith already joined in. And I'll just give a quick introduction about Judith for all of y'all. So Judith is a ICF accredited MCC coach and a team coach. She has an MA in professional practice in coaching from UK. In 2021, she acquired the Henley Professional Certificate in Team, Board, and Systemic Coaching. In 2024, she became the GTCI Certified Systemic Team Coach Senior Practitioner, and she's completed both the foundation and practitioner programs. Since 2013, she's been an ICF assessor for both PCC and MCC, ACC and PCC levels. That's like a really long time, Judith. Judith has been invited 5 times to serve as an evaluator on the ICF Impact Awards. She has contributed to both ACC and MCC ICF Assessors Guide, and she is the co-lead of ACC Task Force for the ICF ACC Assessors Community. The journey to ACC, PCC, and MCC practice insights from ICF assessors in January 2025. Judith set up the runs the BCC, that is becoming a credentialed coach community platform, alongside her team of accredited coaches offering a wide range of coaching development programs to support people on this journey. So, and I'll leave a little more about the book for Judith to speak about. I'm not going to steal the class
Yes.
win there. So over to you, Judith. Inviting you from on behalf of the ICF Pune chapter.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Nice to meet you. Good to have you here. And I hope we shall have a very interactive session. We shall have full of energy and good questions and fun and laughter, because that's how we should spend our time with coaching, especially we discuss our work, our mission, our values as coaches. So that's what we shall highlight today. And I would like to share a presentation. The system is not that fast, but it will get soon going. And here it is. You tell me when you see that. It's soon coming out. So almost as part of the introduction, it was mentioned that I'm an ICF assessor for a very long time, a global assessor, portfolio assessor, which means that all the now schools can also assess, and you can pass the coach exam if you complete an ICF accredited program at the ACC level, even at the PCC level. But there are many students who get their coaching studies from different sources, and they end up taking the exam with ICF. I'm trying to get into the presentation mode. Hopefully it works. So when those recordings go into ICF, this is what we assess. And since 2014, I joined this community of assessors. It was a small community. It's been growing because we are learning, educating. Okay, it's here. Educating new assessors, and also we are also learning all the time. In 2014, I was in the first community for the PCC assessors who were trained in Europe. So there was the first community trained in the US, and then afterwards I was in the European community as assessors. So you can imagine how many, I believe must have been over 2,000 recordings I've listened to. I was an assessor and a mentor coach at Henley Business School, UK. So there again, I listened to assessments. Plus I run my own ICF level 1 and level 3 school. So again, listening to different styles of coaching. So a couple of years ago, when it was 2.5 years ago, I was thinking that what is the subject that I could write a book about? What is that I know, that the experience I've been collecting? And then I said, well, assessments, talking about how you need to prepare for the ICF exam. what you need to do, what you have to be mindful of, and that's okay. Let's put a book together. And I got as a partner Jonathan Passmore and 37 coach colleagues, MCC colleagues who are assessors, and for the first time we came out sharing our experience. So that is what the Green Book is all about. And I'm very grateful to Marsha Reynolds. She was one of those who wrote the introduction. Philip Rosinski was the other one who wrote the introduction to this book. So we collected all our knowledge and experience. I have to say, I'm not academic. I'm a very practical person. I love explaining people what is the expectation for the ICF coach exam. Again, I have to say that this is a coach exam. So often I listen to recordings as a mentor coach or as a peer coach with colleagues, and I say, this is beautiful coaching, but don't bring it to the ICF recording, to the ICF sessions, to the ICF assessment. That's a special category. There are certain rules and standards we have to meet, to follow the profession. But I'm certain that when we are alone with our peers, with our clients, more precisely with our clients, then we are more in a flexible, adjusting way to what the client needs. Okay, so please make this differentiation. I'm sure you can coach beautifully, but it doesn't mean that you would pass the ICF exam right now or with a certain recording. My expertise is preparing you for your ICF exam, teaching you and mentoring you along those standards and rules which make, let's say, the ICF defined professional coaching. That's my expertise. That's what I work with as an assessor, as a mentor coach, supporting coaches in that way. And also I prepare for level 3, and I would love to connect with you. So there's my LinkedIn QR code and the BCC community. Come up and look around. We have beautiful programs this year and next year. And as I really love sharing knowledge of my peers, not just my knowledge, definitely, but there's so many fantastic coaches who can bring what they know, and let's share it in this community. But now coming on to our mission today, which is to, I give some structure to this, which is we go through the competencies, and I will call your attention to the most frequent mistakes that coaches make in my experience. And what I would like to explain to you is how the system works. We have the ICF competencies, which are the collection of behaviors that us coaches, professional coaches working with the ICF norms should follow. So the competency describes the behavior that we should do, the way we should work as ICF coaches. The markers that you can see here and the ICF ACC bars and MCC bars are the assessment criteria that us assessors work with. So one thing is the behaviors that you learn, and they match the bars and the markers, but not exactly the same language, obviously. And then us assessors, we use this language to check boxes and to see if those criteria are met, which mean that you pass an ICF exam. Okay, so the competencies that we learn and the markers that us assessors use to assess the demonstration of those behaviors. Like here you can see it's established and maintains agreements. That's the competency, the contracting part. And there are the markers, which is coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish in the session. One of the most frequent mistakes, I'm not going to label them as big or small, mistakes which come up, let's say, with the highest frequency, that coach defines the session topic, even if it is based on what the client says. What does it look like? That the client comes into the session and starts talking about something that happened to him or her, a situation, maybe already the topic, or maybe just some narrative that the client is experiencing. And then the client talks, and we have this impression, oh my God, I'm running out of time. The client is talking too much. Let me identify what I hear. So based on what the client is saying, I'm picking up a theme, I'm picking up a structure, which obviously there must be my bias in there because something that resonates with me, and I play back what the client said. So I'm not it's not my topic, but again, it wasn't freely or wasn't defined by the client. I assumed based on what I heard that this must be the topic. So it's based on my assumptions, maybe my bias, my background, whatever influences my thinking, seem to hear certain things in what the client said, what the client communicated. And I thought, okay, this must be the issue. Let me play it back to the client. And the way clients come and join us, they very much like us, they look up to us, and the client happily nods, oh, great, yeah, that's the topic, fantastic. I don't have to do any thinking, any definition of the topic because my coach understood it. Like in the corporate life, you don't talk much. I already assume and jump to conclusion based on what you said, what the topic should be. No, the best way of identifying the topic is asking the client. Obviously, the client comes into a session and talks, talks, talks. Sure, we love that because that's what we are here there for. We listen to our clients. We enjoy their story. We are happy that the client is talking and doesn't say, no, I don't have a topic. I don't have anything to talk about. So we are glad the client talks. And then instead of asking the client after all this, okay, having heard that, fantastic, make a nice statement of empathy, showing understanding of what the client says, but don't label it. That's again a very thin line. Showing understanding for what the client says and ask the client back, great, what is the topic that you would like us to focus on? Sum it up in one sentence, please, or just, I would love to hear it from you. I mean, it's all fantastic that you told me, or that's astonishing, or make, a light statement of quality or indicating that you listened, but it should come from the client what the topic is. Let the client confirm it. This is not the business life. Coaching is where I need to understand from half the words that the client or my boss is saying, and I have to immediately show my understanding. I know it, I understand it, I have it all. No, in coaching, we can be easy. We can play, I wouldn't say the word stupid, but it's almost like that. Just take it easy. Here I am. Let me ask you again, what is the topic? It's not because I didn't listen properly. It's just I would love to hear it from you. It's your life, your topic. Please tell me, rephrase it, define it. I'm interested, I'm curious. I want to hear it from you. And then the client voices the topic or states the topic, and we confirm what we hear. Okay, so this is the contracting phase. I have to say that in this book, my contribution was about the contracting because if we work at ACC and PCC level, what we really follow is a structure. There's a structure which defines coaching. There's a beginning and there's a development, a route from A to B, and a nice closing with the next step, what the client will do next. And I think that's fantastic. It's tangible, it's understandable. We just have to get it in our head. The whole of this morning, I was listening to the ICF new MCC bars training material, which will be used very much in the near future to train MCC assessors. And that is not such a tangible process. That's MCC. But for ACC and PCC, it's easy. We just follow a structure. We identify the topic, then we check the outcome, then we get into the story, and we see at the end where the client wants to got to at the end, arrived, and what is the learning there, and how the client will take it from there in the form of a homework or next task. It's the structure. So there's a contradiction at ACC and PCC. We work on learning a structure. And at MCC, we see how we can forget it, how we can drop it, we loosen it up, and the qualities of a coach change completely. But here now we stay with the ACC and the PCC level, and there, what I am teaching here and what I expect when I'm assessing, where is that structure? And the structure gets set up right at the contracting phase. It's all about partnering. It's all about co-creation. It's all about how we define jointly what the client wants to discuss and where the client wants to get to by the end of the session. And here again, you can see that markers 3.2, it's about reconfirming measure of success, what the client wants to accomplish. So it has to be an outcome which is definable and which is clear. Discussing the topic, then discussing the outcome. It's very important that you spend time on that. There are two things happening. One is that we may have a time frame and we feel we need to rush on. Or it may happen that us, we are so eager to solve the issue of the client that we want to get on with where's the solution? How should the client not just survive but thrive? And we get into discussing it without a proper contracting. I would like to invite you and request from you, please pay attention and spend time on the contracting. What the client wants to achieve? One thing is the topic, the other is outcome. How shall we know what that outcome tells us? How shall we know what the client will get, how it will feel at the end, what it will give to the client? So please spend time on identifying the topic. It may also happen that as the client talks already at the beginning, we shall find that it's not what we've at the very, very beginning identified, but as the client is talking about it, we often experience it ourselves. We talk about something and then, I change our mind or another focus comes in. Have an ear for the shifts. What possible shifts can be already at the very beginning of the session. Okay, so and never mind recontracting, picking up those shifts. It's very important. So you please pay attention to them and shouldn't have the attitude that, oh, we agreed on something, let's stick to that. Okay, and whether you like it or not, we are stuck with that topic, and that's what we need to follow. But just simply make sure that you just go with the flow and follow the client where the client leads and keep on checking what is our topic, what is our outcome. But at the beginning, as I mentioned, at the ACC and PCC level, there's a beautiful structure. At the beginning, please keep that. And now we come to the next competency, cultivates trust and safety. And here, 4.1 and 4.2, those are the markers that us assessors pay attention to. You learn about the competency cultivates trust. Here, I did not list the sub-competencies that belongs under competency 4. But the important thing is just to look at the markers, what we are looking for, and here what I've listed the most frequent mistakes that I see. Let's see, 4.1 is about coach acknowledges and respects the client's unique talents, insights, and work for the coaching process. What I consider to be most important for us to have this positive attitude. So as long as the client talks, we are looking for something positive that we can pick up, that we can identify. What, for example, may be already at the beginning when the client comes in and tells a story, it may be already a success story, which may have some difficulties. So there's a bottleneck, which may end up to be the issue for the session. But during that story, the client may talk about the promotion, may talk about the success with a colleague or in the family. Let's have an ear for that. Let's identify what the client is good at as talents, and insights can come at any stage, not just towards the end of the coaching process, because it's the coaching process. Beginning is a nice contracting, then we go unfold this topic. Then around 2/3 of the session, we check about the learning, what are the conclusions here, and then we see how we can implement them, how we can put them into action, into the next step. So there's the nice overall structure. But life can definitely makes it different because insights can emerge as the client is thinking, picking up a story. New insights can emerge at an early stage. And what I find a frequent mistake is that we miss these insights. This is my latest, let me say, latest focus, that I'm looking if the coach can identify the new insights there in the process. It happens at the end. At the end, we always check it. Well, not always, but in the best cases, surely we do. What was your learning? What is your takeaway? What did you learn about yourself? These are the usual questions that happen around 2/3 of the session or maybe towards the end, because we know that there is no coaching without new awareness, no new coaching, no coaching without new insights, new discoveries. We are always checking that at the end, or in best cases. Some cases coaches also miss that. I shall talk about that later in one of the competencies later. They may miss that, but the good thing that keep it in mind, if it's could be one of your takeaways from today, hopefully, is that look for insights and learning during a session, in the middle of the session, maybe even at the beginning. when there's a shift in the topic at the beginning, this is very MCC level, there's a shift in the topic. Shifts usually happen because we realize there's something more important is coming up, something more important is emerging than what we agreed on, what we contracted at the beginning. And there's this new emergent thing coming up, usually that could be a new insight, a new realization. That is what makes us shift the topic. That makes us shift the topic because the client, as the people talk and think, new ideas emerge. And we should be eagerly jumping on the new ideas. You know, when I joke, I always say that's the point when I send in my check. That was the worst for the whole session because a new idea came in. So it's approach it lightly and look at it as our result. This wouldn't have happened without us if we are not sitting here nicely, quietly, listening with good questions. Our presence is there that supports the emergence of these new thoughts and ideas. So I would like to invite you to look out for new ideas at any stage during a session. And as you see, this is a PCC marker 4.1. It's already looking for this. Later on, it's also come up under competency 8. But the most important is that here you can already look for that. And then coach shows support, empathy, and concern for the client. Imagine that is also missing frequently, very frequently, because we think that if we are there, a good listener, being attentive and being present, that's enough. How do we communicate our empathy? How do we communicate our understanding towards the client? How that comes up? Again, make sure that at some point you also express that to the client. This is one of the markers that we have to look out for when we are ticking the boxes. If you don't do that, then I can't mark it as observed. Coach shows support. That could come in the form of coach checking as part of the contracting. This is competency number 4, but it can be under the contracting as well. Is that the contracting stage that the coach is checking what kind of support during the session the client needs. That is partnering. Partnering with the client, how to run the session together. What to do? What is the support the client needs? You know, do you want a glass of water next to you? Or do you want me to listen and just let you talk? Or you love my short questions as you expressed to me last time? How should we work together? This is another level of awareness, but checking that could fall under marker 4.2, could be part of the contracting, how we work together. But surely that is very much a coach feature, a coaching, let's say, requirement to show support and empathy. What I always say is that where can we express empathy? Where could it come up? Obviously, any stage through the session, but an important point could be at the beginning. Just imagine if we have a client who has a topic, an issue, has a pain. There's a pain and urgency. This is what we need for coaching to take place. Pain and urgency. And there's a pain and the client comes to us, I mean pain literally, comes to us and tells us about this bad experience or the story that is not so comfortable for the client. So there they come with an issue. Wouldn't that be the first and most wonderful place to express our empathy and our understanding for the client? So at the very beginning, it's given. If they have a genuine issue that hurts them, we can immediately show our understanding and their empathy for the client. Okay, so that somewhere, when I give a feedback, developmental feedback, and this 4.2 is not marked, not observed, then I always say, us coaches, you must find some place during a session where you can express your support, your empathy for the client, your understanding. Okay, so have an ear for that, and let's have that attitude. Next one is maintains presence. But just imagine here, I didn't find any bad examples for you, but I found the 2 markers which are very significant here. And again, they can be often omitted and forgotten about. One of them is allowing silence and pause for reflection. This is so interesting, and silence is such a topic frequently on our agenda. More and more we talk about it. For MCC level coaching, it's a must to hold the silence. It's a must. And silence is not identical with not interrupting. Silence is not identical with that. But simply because we think that we don't interrupt the client, we allow the client to talk. That means that I am holding the silence. Not really. Silence is a longer pause, time to reflect. When you don't jump in with a question right away, obviously what happens at the beginner ACC and even PCC level, that I have so many fantastic questions and my curiosity is so strong that I want to ask this and I want to ask that. So all along, I want to make sure that I show my presence through the next question jumping in. How can you show your presence? By just slowing down and quietly sitting and waiting. When I do coach trainings, I always say that us coaches, and that's how I teach my students, we are professional silence holders. We know how to do it. When I run webinars, I always say when there are no questions coming, I say, listen, I can hold the silence. We can sit here for the next 20 minutes if you don't have a question. I know how to hold the silence. So you can kind of play with that. But and in ordinary life, when we hold silence, the other person immediately finds it's embarrassing not to talk. And we know it's not embarrassing, we're just giving room for the other person to think. Today, not today, this week, we had a great session Monday with Robert Biswas Diener, and his book is on provocation. And sorry, I don't have the exact title, but he was challenging our view on to interrupt or not to interrupt.
Mhm.
He's saying that would you want a coach who never interrupts? Does that coach show interest in you, or if there's an interruption, showing that I'm present and I want to ask something, or I want to share my observation, I'm really thinking in line with you, together we are thinking. So how do you feel? It's just, I leave this question here with you. How do you feel about interrupting when the client is off the topic, for example? But what does it mean off the topic? Maybe as the client is talking about something else, that could be an opportunity for recontracting. And you need to interrupt just to check the importance of what is emerging. Is it important enough to recontract, to adjust our topic accordingly? Okay, so there are the silence and holding the space for the client and not even interrupting or even interrupting. So that's again an issue that I would like to leave with you and encourage you to experiment. Maybe not when you send your recording for an ICF exam, but in general, experiment, play with it, how you feel about it, what is the response that you evoke in the client if you interrupt. My other favorite marker is the 5.3. That is really a true manifestation of partnering, which is co-creation of the session. I love it. I have a lazy model, which is lazy, and L stands for listening, A is awareness building, zest is the energy, and Z is the zest, the energy, and you, coaching is all about you, dear clients. So that's the lazy model. And my lazy model is built up by beautiful short questions is, where are we now? Where shall we go next? What should we discuss from now onwards? So it's simply leaving the control up to the client. You should know that my background is I'm a consultant. I used to be a public relations consultant for 20 years. I said, no, I don't want to work anymore. I want to be a coach. And I just asked the client what to do next, where to go next, what to discuss. That is a lazy life, but it's very coach-like and very much matches the 5.3, which means that the client controls the session. It's so easy not to know. I love it. I don't have to know what to do next. I simply ask the client, what should we do next? What should we cover next? Give the control, then we can hold the silence and this client will take the lead. And it's beautifully, we follow the lead of the client. Now comes facilitates client growth. And here at this stage, I jumped to because there's no, it's here. First, it is client growth. There are lots of issues here because here again, it comes up for 8.3 and 8.2, failing to check new insight or learning. That very often happens because if you go at the ACES level, coaching can be very transactional. go from A to B. What do I need to do to get from A to B? What is my next step? And the coach will facilitate my thinking with great questions, even summaries, observations, and I just go to A to B. And they forget to ask about the learning, forget to ask about new awareness. Coaching is about building new awareness. That's the point of coaching. Coaching is not an action plan. And nowadays you will hear a lot about transactional coaching from AI tools. AI can coach at the ACC level. They can take you from A to B, can support your logical thinking. ACC level is beautifully can be completed by an AI coach as well. And but if we get into the new awareness, the learning and the feelings around that, who the client is, and we're working towards the PCC and onto the MCC level, there we cannot be caught by AI. That's the route today is what for coaches, whoever is beginner in coaching and learning about coaching, you have to learn AI, have an AI tool, something augments your work and complements your work. And the other is go towards MCC, where you learn all the nuances that make your discussion, takes your discussion to another level, to a level where the PCC structure doesn't work anymore, or it works at the back of your mind, but anything that is formulaic or can be like a scripted, what you need to do according to the structure, that is not MCC level coaching. That's another thing, ACC, PCC is a straight line. I go from A to B. With MCC, you make all these D routes all along the way. You just notice what's emerging and you reflect and you work with that. So here, failing to check new insight, new learning action plan is too vague or rushed. Yes, I did for 7 years. I worked at Henley Business School and I was doing assessments and mentoring. And there they had a 30 minutes time there. Now, the way to make the 30 minutes, many coaches thought was, let's have a very quick contracting, what is the topic, and let's rush on. Or if there was no time left, then obviously they wanted to save some time at the end. A rushed next step. Just like let's rush it through and what shall we do next? And that is the end of the discussion. I would like to say that time frame is important for everybody because even when we have an hour, it can really go fast, and we have to manage our time. And the longer you spend on the contracting, the sooner you will finish the session. The shorter your session will be, because with the contracting, you can be so precise in identifying what is relevant for the client that you can make a quicker route, a quicker progress towards that. With the facilities client growth and as I said, the rushed on the action plan is vague and rushed on. What is very important here again, how to build it up. That's why I mentioned that the best is around 2/3 of the session. Check what is the new learning, new awareness, new insight, because there is a marker, which is not listed here, but I know by heart, is implementing the learning, how you take learning into the next step. That is very relevant. And now, if you don't have a learning, then how can I build the next step on that? And this marker is checking that, following up the new learning. I don't know exactly the text, but the important is that the next step or what you will do after the session builds on what you realized, what you discovered during the session. There's a correlation. Some coaches, which is in a way, it's also good for a pass, at the very end of the session, they just simply quickly check, what is your takeaway? What have you learned? Just a quick one. I can tick the box, okay, for me as an assessor, but you cannot build your action plan on that. And then obviously there is a marker which I cannot tick. That box I cannot tick. But there's so many beautiful details towards the end. It's not just what you will do next or what it can be a thinking action, not just the doing part, but also who can support you in that? What are the obstacles? You can build in some accountability there. You can obviously acknowledge the development of the client during the session just as well, talk about the work of the client. There are different ways Americans do it, full of celebration. Now the language has changed, and in the bars, and instead of using the word celebrate, we use the word acknowledge. so we make it kind of milder and acceptable, hopefully, for all cultures. But the thing is, again, notice the progress that you made together, something that you as a coach could or should also be proud of because it happened in your presence. We did it together. I supported you, and I'm happy for the work that the client can do. And the reason is also good to acknowledge that because again, this is the learning that hopefully will be repeated in the life of the client again some other time. So the learning is something that will carry us through to our other challenges that we have to think through, be it with a coach or on our own. But the learning is something that should be part of our routine of always discovering and discussing it, exploring it. Okay, I have some more here for this part, which is, I mentioned the accountability, recognition of the client's work, growth during the session. One of my favorite things that I mark, and because this whole marking and assessment work that we do, um, well, we need a lot of experience, but even with a lot of experience, we can make mistakes. So there are sentences done so beautifully and not in the formulaic way that maybe it's difficult to interpret them or to explain to them or link them to any of the competencies or any of the markers. So there is always some subjectivity. By the way, I have to mention here that when we go on an assessor training, the first thing that we always discover our own biases, how we work, what influences our judgment when we assess. That's the first work we do. So, well, anyway, that can still creep in, and we have to be mindful of that. But at the end, if the coach doesn't ask for the permission of the client to close the session, that's an easy thing that I can pick on. And nobody can challenge me there because that's so detectable, that's so tangible. Does the coach check if the client agrees on closing the session? What often can happen, unfortunately, the coach will say, time is up, I switch off the recording. That's it, the end of our session. That happens frequently, unfortunately. So there are two ways to this marker 8-9. One is that, when you finish the exploration, you should always check with the client, is there anything that's still missing here? Would you want us to discover something more that we haven't done so around your topic? Always important to emphasize that is on your topic that we are talking about, because some coaches ask it in a very open way. What haven't we discussed? Yeah, sure, we haven't discussed my holiday, we haven't discussed my marriage problems. There are lots of things we haven't discussed. But the issue is to keep the focus on what we've been discussing throughout the session to make sure that that is complete. Okay, so one question is, have we covered everything? And here you can hear me, I'm using a closed question because we are towards the end of a session, so we can ask a yes or no. Yeah, everything we've covered, or you can make it an open way. What would you like to still add here towards the end of our session? This is one issue. And the other is, now, if you feel we complete, is that okay if I switch off the recording? Can we end our session now? That's asking for permission. Asking for permission of the client at any stage, if we offer an exercise, if we offer a tool during a session. This coming Monday on the BCC community platform, I will talk about how us coaches will be allowed, even encouraged, to offer tools, resources under the label knowledge sharing. ICF allows knowledge sharing, and a beautiful document was issued by ICF. So I'm building my presentation on what ICF communicated about this, but I'm very glad that the competency came out in end of September, when it was announced that not just the coach can check and share insights of what we've discovered during the session, but we can also share knowledge. And there was a great debate how much coaching is going towards in the direction of consultancy. If we can change, share knowledge, that is something interesting and new in our profession. But now ICF clearly defines what is meant there. And one of the things that is meant under that label knowledge sharing tools, resources, and some expert knowledge that you have, which is, it's beautiful. The document explains it beautifully, saying that us coaches, we can also be experts at something. We don't have to be just a questioning bot there and maybe obviously making observations, but we have our expertise that we can share. So if you have a tool, you have StrengthsFinder, Hogan, or whatever other tool that you use, you can freely offer it to the client. But again, how do you offer it? And what is the lightness of your offer? How, without an attachment, obviously that is the word that we that you have to keep in mind, offering something without attachment, lightly. And I'm sure when us assessors, we listen to the recording, we listen to the tone of voice. With what tone of voice is it being offered? Is it being offered yeah, this is the tool you have to find, you try out in order to understand yourself better? Obviously, saying that, okay, well, I work with that. If you're interested, we can do next time when we come together, we can test that, play with that tool. Okay, so how you offer it, but you have the right to offer it. But the whole thing is about permission throughout the session at any stage. Like I said, empathy and understanding throughout the session at any stage. Okay, and the same here, as I said, with the ending. And that's a very easy stage for us assessors. That's an easy job. And is the permission asked to close the session or not? That's the only thing I have to state. And that's usually these are not challengeable situations. Same with the contracting. Is there a topic identified by the client? Is there an outcome identified by the client? And we play back and forth because we play it back. So there are summaries, we make observations. Then another thing I would like to say, which is not here, I don't know how it's been left out of my presentation, but I also find coaching sessions which are very much built on beautiful, short, short questions, powerful questions, short, powerful questions. And open questions. Okay, that is we know coaching is famous about asking questions, but coaching is not just about asking questions. It is also about sharing your observation, making summaries. And if you can see in your eyes this, if I look through a transcript, this nice play of short, powerful questions, then a longer observation when I share what I see, when I play back what I hear. And they have to be in a nice harmony. Just look at the proportions. What happens if you have too many observations, you have too many summaries, you talk too much. You as a coach end up talking too much. With every word that we say, we exert influence. We show our influence through the words, through the tone that we use. So you have to be intentional, and we're coming to my guiding principles now. You have to be intentional of what I do. You have to be aware. Am I talking too much? But again, that's not a proper coaching questions session, which is just all about questions. Coaching is more than asking questions. How can you make observations and summaries? And these are the things that when us assessors working with that, we have to see more of those. Some of the competencies, the statements that we have to follow when we assess require just one demonstration of a certain skill. But when it comes to observations or summaries, they should be used more than once. So I would challenge you or invite you to play with these tools of questions, observations, questions, summaries. What is your balance? What is the balance that suits you best and that suits obviously the client and even suits an ICF exam? So these are all the criteria that we have to take into consideration. Now, I like to talk about 3 or 4 guiding principles that the ICF frequently uses as the language. Could you help me, Shilpa? How much time do I have? How much do we have in this?
Judith, we still have another 40 minutes, including time for question answers.
Okay, 40, you mean?
Yes, 40.
Okay. But I would like to make it interactive. I mean, I've been talking too much. It's really, so I would love to have your questions. Please prepare a question or share your best practice along these principles that I mentioned. But here, now what? Let's have some questions, and I come back to the guiding principles. I take off the presentation. I think we can use the presentation. I can come back to that. And it obviously takes longer to go back and forth, but we can manage it. So good to have you here and just share your thoughts. For example, I have a question. Okay, let's make it just one question. Be like I try to be a coach, just one question. And the question: which competence is the biggest challenge for you? All the things that I've talked about you, what is the one thing that you feel, yeah, that's me. I have to pay attention to that. So what is the biggest challenge? I love if you share it with your voice. So just take off the mute sign and come in. Or if there's something in the chat, then Renu, I would invite you to help me whatever emerges in the chat. Maintaining presence. There was all, yeah, and what's so difficult about presence? Tell me, let's talk about it. Bahar, thank you very much. Take the floor. And then Victor, I love it. I love it. Yeah, good. I don't have to do any more work. I'm back into the lazy mode.
Exactly. That's why I just raise my hand. Okay, everyone, hello. That I'm so happy that I'm here. Actually, to be honest, the most challenging for me is number 2, as I said it in the chat, because I think it just
What is number 2 for you, Bahar? Help me. What is number 2?
Yeah, coaching mindset.
Okay.
Coaching mindset. There is some of the sub-competencies, just very quietly it says that a coach can understand the ones and then manages the emotion. For me, that's a big statement. That's like a whole big thing. Just it's a quiet just sub-competency there. But for me, it's like somebody who can understand the emotion of herself and the coach and the client is something like big. Yeah, that's my challenge actually.
And what is difficult in managing emotions? Where is the issue there?
Yeah, for me, it's like you have to know what is psychological trust and safety, and this is for me it's a very huge topic, and it's just said in a very quiet way. And for me, it's like if somebody can manage his emotions, if somebody can know what's going through herself or somebody else, for me, it's like it's more than a competency. So for me, it's like I'm 20% successful in that. And for me, it's a challenge to know myself and know the client and know my emotions. I don't know, but for me, it's a big thing to be in some competency.
Thank you. The first step of solving it is realizing where we are, what our challenges. So that's the way already out of that. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Bahir. Just this morning, as I mentioned, I was looking through the new MCC bars and the training material, and this building trust and safety has 4 competencies or sub-competencies. It's really a very difficult issue. So much attention is paid how we create a safe container for the client, how we build that trust, how we give our support, show our understanding. There's so many beautiful details about that at the PCC and ACC, I see it kind of compact, but an MCC is detailed, it's spelled out the different phases of building trust and all that. Beautiful. Thank you, Bahir. Victor. You're muted.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, I enjoyed you talking so much. So thank you. What I struggle is like one of the things that they taught me is that the structure is one of the most important things the coach has to follow and to be responsible for. What I found out is that sometimes your strengths, when they taken to an extreme, can become a weakness. And if I can quote a person that is smiling so nice to us at that moment, one of her books, exactly this one. So if I'm not mistaken, it was like your client needs you to be present than to be perfect. And sometimes following the structure gets in the way of me being present in the session, and it comes across as my attention seems to be on my own performance rather than on the client. How can I get out of this pitfall?
Victor, the way you can get out is the more and more you coach, the better you will know the structure by heart, and then you can forget it. As soon as it becomes your own being, part of your or professional self, the structure, then it will not be, you don't need to focus in on that much. When we're driving a car, remember the beginning, this sign and that sign, and how can I follow all the road signs? And then you get the routine, then you know this automatically. And as you know them automatically in coaching, I don't want to talk about my driving habits, but in coaching, then you can play around with that. You can play around with that because you know that there has to be something that we are working on, and I have a human being as my client, and I have to see my client develop where the client wants to develop, where they want to. So this is the big picture you have to see, and then how you get on that with through the questions, observations, just quiet holding the silence. It will come automatically when you're there and present in the moment with the client. It's just learn the rules so you can forget the rules. That is my basic advice there. Thank you, Victor, for your questions. Uma.
Present in practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Judith, and thank you, Masha, for being part of this session. Taking cue from Judith, what you said, to forget what we have learned. I'm in my journey of establishing myself as a coach, and
Beautiful. Congratulations.
thank you. So, and especially I've seen myself having these thoughts, especially with paid clients. I know I need not make a difference with paid and unpaid, but it does come to mind that how can I make this session more meaningful to that individual who is paying money and coming for it. So how to keep that thought aside? I read a lot, I follow Marsha's videos. Even then, seeing myself on the ground, and at that moment I feel like if this thought wouldn't have come, if I would have trusted myself more, that questions will come and I could have had that presence. How do I develop on that?
This is beautiful, Uma. Great question, and this is how you work on yourself. ICEF competency also has that. You work with mentor coaches, supervisors, you work on yourself. That is how you can develop towards an MCC coach. Marsha, would you like to share anything on that? I'd be happy to invite you. It's how can we work on ourselves?
It's so common that we were brought up to always be the best, to be perfect, to get straight A's. The academic performance. So many of us, and especially Uma, it's so strong in Asia. But this isn't the same, and so to give up that mental habit of I have to perform, instead of just be there, see them, understand them, and share what you hear them saying. So I love that Judith focused on make sure that you are sharing, you're reflecting, you're taking in what they're saying, you're offering it back for them to think about. That remembering that's the perfection, is helping them think, not doing this perfectly. But give yourself a break, as Judith said. And this is a lifelong mental habit that you're changing. So notice when you do it, and instead of saying, "Oh, I didn't," and give yourself that, look, I did well today. I did this a few times. I really let it go. Tell your brain I can do this instead of I can't. And just as Judith said, you just got to keep coaching until it's in your bones and you can just let it go.
Absolutely. And Marsha and also Uma, there comes the contradiction, because what we are taught to go through our transcript, to check what we've done and all that. And then I always want to spare you from too much self-critique. If you're too harsh on yourself, especially in retrospect, I've already done it. Okay, we learn from our transcript, but don't use it to be hard on yourself. That, oh, I could have done that better and that better. Every time you will do it differently, and trust yourself that you will do your best there in the moment, what comes out of you. Okay, that's the most important thing. Because if you're too tense, you can't serve your client. How can you listen to your client if you're always afraid, oh, I'm going to make a mistake and I could have asked a better question 5 minutes ago? No, you're there in the moment, you do your best. And then as you practice, that best will improve and will get even better. Even the best will get better. Okay, just be nice to yourself, not just nice to the client, but also nice to yourself. Beautiful, great.
Thank you so
John,
much.
welcome, Uma, welcome. John.
Hi, Judith. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Uh, so I'm an MCC who mentors MCC mentees and PCC mentees. And there are two questions that I wanted to ask you. This was around 3.2 and 3.3 and 3.4, which is importance and which is what is coming in the way.
Exactly.
Now,
Or where should we start?
where should
3.4?
we start?
We
Yes.
start the discussion.
Yes. So I think, the 3.3 question around importance sometimes gets stated in the conversation leading into the contracting. And people kind of struggle or they ask it in a very formulaic way, right? Like a check in the box. And how does one do it in a way that is smooth and in the part of the process that you would assess for, say, PCC or MCC. And the second is really about what is the thing that we really need to work on. you know uh, Mentees struggle to ask that question. So is there a good way to ask that question?
Okay, and then the question, the last one you said, John, is what do we need to work on? That one.
Yes.
It's asked in so many ways, but I love the word you use, formulaic and scripted. I think if we ask one question at the beginning, how we kick off the session, that is not formulaic. It becomes formulaic if we follow. And then what is the outcome? Why is this important? How should we approach this? Then it becomes formulaic.
Yes.
I am, as a PCC assessor, even if it's formulaic, you ask what you need, I have to check the box as observed.
Yes.
And then that's why I'm saying that first you learn it, and then as you go towards the MCC, how do you lose it, what you learned? How you leave
Yes.
behind what you learned. But the structure has to be in you because through the structure, you develop those habits, those behaviors, like curiosity. I mean, curiosity comes naturally to a 3-year-old, but how does it come naturally to us? I mean, do we become coaches because we are curious, or become coaches because we want to give support? I think more the latter one, because we want to support somebody, we want to help a fellow being. But the other issue is that curiosity is, if we know that we have to be curious as a coach, it can become a part of internally. Really learn how to be curious without being formulaic, because that's part of our nature, and we practice it, we get better. And at the end of the day, okay, we want to help another human being, but to help another human being, we have to learn about the human being, who she is. What do they do? What is their interest? As we are learning about that, about who they are, that is built on our curiosity. It's what is there to know about this person. And as you mentor towards MCC, curiosity can be multi perspectives, multifaceted. Who are you as and what is there about you as an individual, what are your feelings, what is the things that you do. It can be about action, feelings, identity, values. So a whole list of things can be there to build this curiosity and to take it out from this formulaic step, John. The more we go into different areas, as our curiosity becomes natural and becomes really being interested in the other human being. I mean, that's what we are here for in this profession. Then as we ask and we explore new things and we get to the territory of feelings, this is when we shall let go of the structure. Because then the other person comes across to us and we are responsive. We respond there in the moment to what emerges. And that is the mess. When we become responsive, we lose the structure. Because we are working with the here and now, what's happening here between us. Never mind the structure there. But the structure comes out automatically, because what is the structure? The structure is nothing but saying we have to make some progress. That's the structure. We have to go somewhere. And as people are thinking, it happens automatically. We don't have to enforce the structure as we are facilitating the thinking of the other person. As people are talking, new ideas emerging, next steps are coming up, and there's the progress. That's what we wanted. So we have that. But it's such a great question what you put, John. And for us, it's such a challenge because I teach coaches all the time. And one thing we're teaching the structure and then how to let the structure go. These are the two things. But in this sequence, first the structure and then afterwards let go of the structure.
So I use a jazz metaphor to say that you need to learn the scales of music and then you need to forget about them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And by that time, believe me, those who are not there yet, believe me, by the time you get there, you will let go. You'll be easygoing, whatever emerges. I go with that. I don't mind if I don't know. The client will know. I trust my client. I trust the process, and I'm fully present with you. And that's it. And it comes into a flow, which makes it natural, easygoing, relaxed, and really supportive because I'm here for you, dear client.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Judit.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
More questions, or I go back to my presentation because I have some very interesting. Ranu, go ahead.
Yeah, so Judith, just a time check. We've got another 25 minutes. We do have some comments on chat. Maybe we can address these after your slides. Yeah.
Okay, I'll come back to the slides because what I will talk here about is just those guiding principles that we need to follow in coaching. And those are really beautiful because yes, here they are. These are my guiding principles. And as I mentioned, if you just look through the competencies, okay, it's not there yet. Only I saw it, but not there yet. It takes some time. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
We can.
Good. Partnering. So if you look through the competencies, I also have to get some lights on. As I mentioned, the competencies are the behaviors. And one of the guiding words or main words that ICF uses in the coach behaviors is partnering. Partnering. I don't know what this is. You see this too? No. Okay. It's about partnering, which means that a partnership between coach and client. They are equals. We always respect the autonomy of the client. It's very important, and we can navigate. My favorite word is co-creation. And when I mentioned 5.3, that marker, which is about the client has a say in determining the course of the session. The client knows best, and the client will say how the session runs. Okay, it's their word. The coach offers presence, curiosity, and support. We've discussed it. I love coming into these issues, as we're coming towards the end of my presentation, because you can see that things are reiterated. They're coming back. We're working with the same things as curiosity, support for the client, partnership. We are not giving solutions, but as we're partnering with the client, remember, you're a lazy coach, the client will do all the work and not us. That's what we are in this profession for. Come on. We don't want to work that hard. So being a coach gives us the happiness, the joy of supporting somebody while somebody else is doing the work. That is beautiful. Best profession ever. Then partnering ensures the progress reflects the client values, choices, and I can't read the right word, but it must be so if I can move you. A context. Yeah, we work with the client context, the client life is their story. And what radiates from us is this enormous belief that we believe in the client. We know that the client knows it best. The client will find a solution. And if you have this belief in the client, I'm sure that the client will work much harder in the session and will be more successful because they will feel our strength and our belief in them. Partnering ensures that progress reflects the client's values, choices. I've had that. Underneath, the assessor looks for a coach who's able to co-create conditions with the client. The client's leads and to empower the client. instead of directing the client. We've had so many presentations and about coaching is not about our ego that we know best, but we allow the other person to know. We don't need to prove to anybody. We are happy with not knowing and happy with somebody else. In this case, the client takes the lead. That becomes this is the co-creation, very similar to the partnering. Is in there in the moment we jointly decide what should happen next. And here I have to give you my example of time. As I mentioned at Henley Business School, there was a requirement that the coaching sessions should last for about 30 minutes. That's what they send onto us, assessors to check, to assess. So 30 minutes. And there, time is something that you need to work with. We sell our time. Us coaches, we sell our time. So we shouldn't be shy about that. And we have an hour, we have a 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, and just simply ask the client, the remaining time or the time allocated for our session, how would you like to use that? We empower the client to decide, and we are transparent that it's a limited time. We're not going to stay here till the end of the day. And I'm much more like shorter coaching sessions when I assess, because I feel that they have a better structure and a better focus. When the client thinks that you have an hour to go, an hour, it's so much time, so many things can come up. As a coach, I would have anxiety. Oh my God, am I picking up the right topic from the client, or am I picking up the right threads that the client is throwing around when the client has an hour to talk? Just imagine in a given hour, how many potential topics can emerge as the client is talking, and it's our responsibility as a coach to hear these, to pick them, to follow them up, check with the client if they are serious and he wants to go this way instead of that way, and from now on he wants to discuss this instead of that. There's so much content, so many issues that it's quite a responsibility for us coaches to hear the right things, to hear something and to work with that, or simply check with the client if we should work with that at all. These are also very, very interesting things, the time issue. And what can happen that, let's say, in the last 10 minutes, for example, the client changes direction. And we are so afraid, oh my God, I only have 10 minutes left, especially when you have an allocated time that the session should take up. Oh my God, we only have 10 minutes left. How should what should I do? The client talks about something else, and we're not going to be able to cover that. Let me direct the client back to the original topic that we started with. Oh no, please don't bring this up. We have to finish the session soon. What I would recommend you is just take it easy. First of all, you have to hear it. The first thing that I learned in the assessor's trainings, it's a beautiful English sentence. You work with what the client offers. You work with what the client offers. Use it as your mantra, please. You work with what your client offers, meaning that you have to hear what the client brings up, and you have to play it back, check what the client wants to do with that, and say that in the remaining 10 minutes, I heard this issue came up. How would you like to handle this? What should we do with this? We have 10 minutes left, beautiful, but you tell me what we should do with that. I never forget, when I was first running a coach exam for my students, I had a student who told the client, it was a live demo. It was in the around, I think, 2015, 2014. And the client and the coach said, it's one of my students said, we have plenty of time. We have 2 minutes, dear client. Where would you like to go? So even 2 minutes can be plenty of time, but you should not miss asking the client how the client wants to play it. Remember, they run the show. In 2 minutes, still so valuable thinking thoughts can come up that the client can follow up later. So don't underestimate the time. Just be transparent. And again, it's one of my teaching. Don't mention time alone. Never say to the client, we have 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left, because what does it say? That's a pressure on the client. We only have 5 minutes left, so speak faster. No. We have 5 minutes left. How would you like to use that? So whenever you mention the time, connect it with empowering the client, how the client wants to use that. how the client wants to use the remaining time. Simple as that. How do you want to use that? And then the client will know, and it's their responsibility to use the time usefully as they want to, what they want to get out of it. So it's again collaboration, asking the client, where should we go? And this is a favorite thing at any point, but I also teach, I love that. At any point that in the middle of the session, and if you work with topics that I don't know anything about, and I don't want to know anything about it, and I don't mind, I don't know, as long as the client keeps talking, I'm fine. And if I feel that I'm completely lost, then I simply ask the client, where are we now? Would you sum it up for me? The client will tell you what's relevant, what there's to know, what was in their thinking that emerged. Don't think too hard, oh my God, what I'm going to pick out of this? Or what shall I follow up? What shall I ask? Ask the client. What shall we pick up from here? What shall we take further? In what direction should we continue our discussion? Remember, lazy coach. You don't do the work, the client does the work, not you. Lazy coach, that's my motto. Okay, so we had that. I just want to move on. Yes, it's the other thing is responsiveness, which again has come up. So we have partnering, co-creation, responsiveness, meaning we respond to what the client says. In coach school, how do I teach that? Make sure that in your questions you incorporate the words of the client. You ask a question which builds on what the client said and verbally use that word. Build it, put it into your question, inquire about it, explore that. It came from the client. If that is the word that the client uses, that's perfect. On BCC, we run trainings get credential package, which has coach mentoring when we support your development of your coaching skills, and we have preparation for the written exam. The many times, the hook, you can identify the best answers if you see that which question or which response uses the words of the client. Simple. In the written exam, that's, there are 4 options and you have to identify the best and the worst. And usually the best answer builds on the words of the client that the client used, what the example gave. Okay, easy to identify. That's a simple trick. And the last one is intentionality, which is all about us being aware and conscious of what we do. Okay, very simple. This is a profession. And that's, again, one of the big mistakes that I feel, not just I feel, that I see, is when if there's no structure to the session, then it can end up a friendly chat, just a chit chat. No beginning, no end. But I am a good friend. I pay so much attention to what my friend says, and I ask questions, I show attention, I'm interested, I play back what she said. At times I may even help him with a solution. But a friendly chat and the coaching discussion are 2 different categories. So please make sure that your discussion with your client is not a friendly, it's a friendly coaching session, not a friendly chat. Okay, and here I come back. These are my slides that I would like to end here, and the floor is yours. Renu, I'm looking forward to the questions. We still have 15 minutes or almost, yes?
Absolutely, Judith. I think phenomenal. I've had goosebumps at some of the questions that you had, and there's so much of appreciation in the chat as well. One of the earliest questions was if you can give us the acronym LAZY again. What does LAZY stand for?
L is for listening. Us coaches, we have to be very good listeners. Okay, that's a must, a good listener. A is awareness building, but A can be the attention that we pay to our clients, and A can be accountability. We're setting up the next task with accountability buddies and for accountability support. And then Z is zest. That's another word for energy, zest. Where is the energy? Where do you see the energy? That's very important. I also work with motivation, but very important to identify when you hear the client raising their voice or energy comes there and you hear them maybe talking faster, maybe talking louder. Where is the energy in them? And the why is all about you. You, dear client, you are my focus of attention. You, dear client, that is lazy. That is the lazy model. If you come up to my website, to BCC, there is we have a lazy. I also had it accredited by ICF as a CCU program. So anyway, there and there was an article about that at Henley Business School. I was teaching that. So that is all beautiful. Let's get on with the questions, Renu. I want to make sure that I can answer as many as. I saw Lisa was writing something, but I couldn't read it, Lisa. I'm sure that Renu will manage it for me.
Yeah, Lisa, why don't you come up and ask that question? It'll be amazing to hear you.
So I noticed you had BCC community, right? Which I'm assuming is board certified. Yes.
BCC is, sorry, Lisa, what did you say? Certified or what?
What's BCC stand for, according
Oh,
to
okay,
the...
beautiful. Yeah, becoming a credentialed coach. That's built on.
Okay. I was thinking BCC is board certified coach. Okay, got you. I have that book. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
BCC has it's a board certified coach, which is another way of looking at another coaching credential. And it was interesting. I took their exam thinking, okay, well, having all the credentials, I should be able to do this, but it was so therapy based.
Exactly. You have so many credentials. We're always looking to get the next one, but I'm just busy supporting my community now, so I will just put that. And we are
So my
learning from each
apologies.
other.
The
No, Lisa,
BCC
everything
had
is
a different
fine.
reference for me, so ignore my comment. My apologies there.
No,
But I
and with the
appreciate
BCC, with the book, I really have to acknowledge my colleagues. 37 MCC coaches contributed to that book. So there's beautiful collaboration in the family. In the coach family. In one chapter, that we had 3 people adding their knowledge and sharing their experiences as assessors. So there was a beautiful work that I think I'd be always proud of coordinating. Okay, Renu, let's go ahead. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you here, by the way.
it.
So Judith, very interesting question from Dilara. She says it's difficult to show empathy in somewhat a neutral way. From what I understand, a coach should not show emotions about a situation very much. So how do you show understanding in a natural way?
Okay, this is beautiful question. And I have to say the word neutral way and natural way, they come up very much with the MCC when we talk about emotions. I think showing emotion of empathy and understanding that those are allowed. Obviously, we don't cry together with the client. That means more like managing our emotions. And because emotions get us derailed. If we get so emotional, we can't always keep the focus on the client because we get enwrapped in our emotions. So keep it neutral or natural in such a way that it doesn't hinder your work as a coach. Okay, so you definitely you understand the client, but you don't get sucked into that by crying together with the client or getting so upset or distraught, whatever that would really impede, would make your work difficult.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Miroslav had a very interesting comment. Would you want to come up and talk about it, the active listening bit, the conscious level, but not deeper?
Which one was that? What is that you need? Sorry.
Okay,
Renu.
there he's smiling. I'd love for him to come up and ask that question or express.
Yes, yeah, please explain to me your questions. Help me out. Yeah, thank you.
And in the meanwhile, if the others can come on video, we'd like to take a pic as well. So
Okay.
by the time we have the question and answers,
Okay, so
everyone can
I'll
come
read
on
out the
video.
question. I'm not sure. It's okay if you don't want to come online. The question is active listening. Why? I think not on conscious level, but deeper. Several times it's happened to me that a client says something I really did not listen, especially on group coaching, that I heard from a colleague that the client said it and you did not listen to it.
Okay, not being there in the moment for a second or not being a good listener, we are vulnerable. I don't think it's the end of the world. That doesn't mean that you make a big mistake. You just, be transparent and share it. Could you repeat this to me again? Would you help me explain this more? That could happen to anybody. I think it's very human. I'm not afraid of that. It would be worse if you didn't ask and you jumped into assumptions. I seem to hear that. Let me just assume what the client meant by that. No, ask again. I always tell my colleagues that once I have the time, I'm going to write about the value of iterations, why it's good in coaching that we repeat things. Not us, we repeat as coaches some things that we hear, we play it back or the mirror, or we ask the client to repeat things. I think that's beautiful. Just pay attention to that whenever you ask the client to repeat something, they will never say the same way as they had said before. It will be always different words they use, different intonation, maybe a longer sentence, a shorter sentence. And these things, when we, even ourselves, I experience it when I'm talking about things over and over again, I always come up with new approach, new ideas, maybe new words, new insight about what I am communicating. Yeah, it has so much richness if we repeat things. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Repeat, ask again, play it back and forth. You know, some coaches, you're right, this is a great question because it could lead to the mistake that we are afraid to ask again because we think that the client will think, I'm stupid, I didn't understand. I have to ask again. Oh my God, what is the client will think? What will the client think of me that I can't, remember what the client said? I have to tell you the story. My background is I'm an interpreter. I used to be a top for Freddie Mercury. I interpreted when he came to Hungary. I was his translator from the Queen pop group. And when I got into coaching with my first clients, when I came to a session, I always very diligently I repeated what the client told me last time. Like I want to prove I listened to you. I still remember what you said last time. Here I come with that story. And in that session, it wasn't relevant anymore. The new life, new issues, a week passed or even 2 weeks have passed. That's not important. Please, you tell me again what you're in. Not me showing off that I remember, I'm good enough, I can remember what you said. No, that's not relevant. That's relevant what the client remembers. That's what matters.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Renu. Next one.
So I'm going to invite Jayashree. Jayashree is our chapter president herself, an MCC and a mentor coach. Jayashree, what are your thoughts and any experiences as you listen to everything that's being discussed today?
Well, I think so. Thank you, Judith, for being
Thank
with us.
you.
And these were super practical tips. And there was a deja vu for me when I did my assessor training, and they kept on telling us, right, that you are looking for a good session, right? So you're looking to be a professional coach and not a perfect coach. And I think
Exactly.
that was a great insight for me when I began the assessor training, and it kept coming back to me again and again. I really loved your acronyms, your metaphors, and your simple ways of explaining, Judith. I think your experience shines through everything that you spoke.
Thank you.
And and I think some of the questions that came up were also great because it shows that these coaches are really thinking about how do I do better. I think just one perspective that I would like to add here is that sometimes, especially in the early stages of our credentialing, I think coaches think of the structure of the competencies as something that we really need to, tick that box and we work towards that. But I
Yes.
think in that process, it is very important to strengthen our belief that these competencies are there because it is believed that they're going to benefit the client the best. So it is finally, I mean, we are looking at the competencies and we are looking at ticking the boxes in service of the client. I think that belief, keeps us going stronger and getting better at our craft. I think that has been my understanding of the journey.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, and all of you. Good to meet you here. And I'm grateful for your questions. We still have time, remember? 3 minutes, plenty of time we have. Ask your
And again,
questions.
I'll ask everyone to please come on video so that we can take a quick pic. It was really lovely, Judith. It felt like you were reading our minds with all the examples that you were giving. Really lovely.
I can see Clifford smile. Clifford, you opened up saying this was recommended as part of the course. Do you want to share anything about today's session?
No, I think I've in fact, the moment I mean, I've just finished the book, and the moment I came across this article of Judith on lazy coaching, it was so impressive that I wrote a post on LinkedIn on the same. And of course,
Yes, I
yeah,
remember. Thank
Judith
you.
further forwarded. Of course, she corrected me because the book was not just written by her. There were 37 coaches, so and that's why. But
I have to. I always, we have to acknowledge our colleagues like you
sure.
here for learning. Anybody who comes to me and you say that I'm going for my ACC and PCC, my first sentence is acknowledging your effort to develop. You want to have credentials. Beautiful. I encourage all of you now and every time. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very impressed with this model at least. Yeah. Thank you. I learned a lot
Thank you.
from it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Judith, a lot of hearts, a lot of comments. We have participants mentioning it's a great session, wonderful program, very resourceful, and a lot of the questions and super hands-on and actionable tips that you've shared through today. If anybody else has any comment to make or a question, we still have a couple of minutes, and the stage is all yours.
Renu, can I share my QR codes again, hoping that you come
Absolutely.
up to BCC so we can meet again and learn that together. I would really like that.
Absolutely. So,
Uh,
Judith, yeah, it'll be great if you can share that. We'll also probably put it on the closing. That's where you can have access to the book that we've been referring to through the session and the BCC community platform.
Absolutely, and come up for we have a coaching demo tomorrow, Thursday, with one of my colleagues, Jory Stillman from the US. And then we have next week we have book launches, an outdoor coaching book. We have an internal coaching book coming out with Katerina. That is out. And we have on the 3rd and the 4th or the 2nd of December, we have book launches every day. I'm really very interested and committed to bring you the latest what's in the coaching world. Okay, so you're fully, Marsha said she would come to us as well to present there. So it's, I have Jeffrey Hall, I have Thinkers 50, Jonathan Passmore is regularly there. And with Renu, we are active in organizing a tech conference, Tech Enabled Coach on the 15th of January. This is together with ICF, with Renu, we have also Jonathan Passmore will be there, Harry Novik, AI platform provider. We have Joel, Suzanne from ICF coming. So it's I find it very important that we bring the latest. I want to make it. This platform is. I have to say that I'm working hard, so I'm not shy to say that it's 55 euros for a whole year. It's membership for a whole year, and you get plenty of learning. And that's November rate. If you join in December, it will be 75 euros. But I'm making annual rates and I'm making sure that it's inclusive. I would love to have as many coaches as you can. One thing you have to promise me, that you don't come to all the events. You have to promise me. Because if you come to all the events, it's going to be such an overwhelm that you will never talk to me again. You say, Judith, you have 3 events in a week. I can't keep up with that. This is what people are telling me. So come with the leisure, with the pleasure, with the liberty of joining whenever you come, because you're still not wasting your money. You get 100 times what you paid for. But make sure you keep your focus and you learn what serves you and supports you in the moment, and just enjoy it nice and easy. And if I can get my QR codes somewhere here in the process here. They are back. So that's the BCC, and there's LinkedIn. Join me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting beautiful pictures when we are together as a community. But I would like to say thank you, Renu. I don't want to use anybody's time. We are beyond our agreed time. So I say thank you and hope to see you again and be connected somewhere online. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith, and thank you, everyone. We've had a packed house right till the end. Amazing questions, reflections that have kind of added so much more value to our session. We have another session which is happening on December 4th. You can find those details on our chapter page. That is on coaching supervision. And we'll see you soon. And take care of yourselves. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Good